Early this morning, I had a swagger, and it's on the social media. They are confused whether I was doing Buga or doing Babanriga. But it is a day to celebrate democracy while doing Dobale for the day. I'm a traditionally Yoruba boy. I did my Dobale.
All right. So good day to you. I'll say good day to you. I'm not even sure if anybody is watching it, but good day to you nevertheless. And good afternoon so good day to you and good afternoon to everybody. Good or good whatever day or whatever time of the day you are in. So that little clip, let me actually play it again. This is Tinubu actually trying to style out that little incident that happened at the Democracy Day. So, and I'm not sure that he necessarily needed to address that, because the more he speaks on it, the more it highlights it as a moment in time. So, what essentially happened was that, however he tripped either on his agbada or he lost his footing, or however he did trip. The fact is that he did trip. So and that's fair enough. Everybody trips. I've tripped and fallen face down. You have tripped and fallen face down. Everybody on this planet has tripped and fallen face down. So you can be as young as you like or as old as you imagine. And it might well be a consequence of that, a consequence of old age, a consequence of mistake. It didn't really have to go into that much of an explanation, trying to style it out that it was swagger. It wasn't swagger. You tripped and you fell, but then that's fair enough. So everybody can trip and fall. So it's not really about Tinubu though this session. I'm really looking to react to Peter Obi'S interaction on I keep saying Independence Day. I'm really looking to react to Peter Obi'S interaction on Democracy Day with the media. So that's what I'm looking to react to. But somebody sent this in, so I just thought I'd make a brief comment. So for the benefit of people just coming in, this is how Tinubu is trying to explain away what happened on Democracy Day.
Early this morning, I had a swagger, and it's on the social media. They are confused whether I was doing Buga or doing Babanriga. But it is a day to celebrate democracy while doing Dobale for the day. I'm a traditionally Yoruba boy. I did my Dobale.
So there it is. That's Tinubu trying to style out what happened to him on Democracy Day. So it was neither Buga or traditional Yoruba whatnot, or whatever nonsense he was saying just there. It was essentially an elderly man that lost his footing and fell face down. So it's just that. And by the way, you'll see more of that because if you look at Tinubu's gait, that's a G-A-I-T, if I'm spelling that right. I'm not sure if there's an H at the end of that. But if you look at Tinubu's gait, which is the motion of his movement, he walks a bit like a Scooby-Doo. It works a bit like Scrappy-Doo from Scooby-Doo, sort of like a lumbering limp forward. So Tinubu is going to have more falls because there's no time you see him attempt to even propel himself in any direction that it doesn't look ungainly on his feet. So in the course of the 8 years that he will be your president, he's going to have several other falls. And you have all of these reactions from people like Atiku Abubakar and all of the opposing positions to say, look, this man is unhealthy. So just get accustomed to that. It's an ungainly sort of an element who is elderly at the age of 72, 73. So the expectation then is that he will be unsteady on his feet. So him now trying to explain it away is something that I didn't really buy into. But Tinubu is not the theme of this particular session. The theme of this particular session is to react essentially to Charles Anyagolu, his interaction with Peter Obi. So let's bring that up. I'm going to try and condense this to under an hour or no more than an hour, 10 minutes, because it's meant to be just a snapshot reaction. So I'll be skimming through quite a few bits of this interaction that we're about to say now. So let me bring it up and then we proceed from there.
So this Democracy Day anniversary, marking 25 years of democratic governance, seems like a good time to look at where Nigeria is today, with a declining economy, rising crime, pervasive corruption, and the continuing failure of basic services like power, water, and infrastructure. How do we recapture this country from those who are determined to stamp out progress wherever they can? What does democracy look like in Nigeria in 2024 as various parts of this increase?
All right, I'm going to skip through the preambles to when the interaction actually takes place. So I'll just skip it forward to when he actually introduced, like I said, is really the interaction with Peter Obi. So let's pick it up from here.
Evolution of democracy, the economy, the rising cost of living, insecurity, President Tinubu's 1 year in office, whether the opposition parties are on the cusp of a merger, and the odyssey of unhushed arguments between a coterie of splinter groups within his Labour Party. As Nigeria marks this silver anniversary, is there a silver lining for Mr. Obi himself and for Nigerians? Or does it portend a cataclysmically black cloud? And Peter Obi joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Mr. Charles.
And happy Democracy Day.
Thank you.
You've been away from television for a while. You've been making very few comments about a lot of things that have been happening. Why is that?
Well, just following up and making sure that other people make the comments and I listen, because part of leadership is also listening and learning. And that's what has been happening. I've also been contributing a bit of mine.
Indeed. This week,
So part of leadership, and by the way, you will hear a lot of Peter Obi trying to invite the thought that he's some sort of a leader in any of his vituperations. Let me put it that way, not to attempt at a big word, but that's the word. You hear a lot of attempts by Peter Obi to try and expand to some sort of vituperation, but nevertheless, let's carry on. This is not the moment to pause just yet. Let's carry on.
Of course, Democracy Day, it's being marked this week here in Nigeria. How concerned are you that democracy in this country remains extremely fragile, and some would say in peril after a quarter of a century?
All right. Before we hear what Peter Obi has to say, let me just put a precursor. Let me put I don't want to put a guidance, because of course you are all educated and intelligent enough to form your own thoughts. But what you have to, I'm not saying what you should do, But I am viewing this interaction as essentially a family meeting. So because Charles Anyagolu, he of course is an Obedient, the presenter, from the same stock and lineage and worldview of Peter Obi. So what you will see in the course of however long this lasts is that the Charles guy feeding raw meat to Peter Obi, which he will gobble up. So this will be a soft sell sort of interaction. So don't expect any potency, don't expect any push, don't expect any pressure. So this is essentially sort of like an advertorial sort of an interaction that is taking place between these two.
Well, for me, that was part of my comments today because you said I tweeted today. The question is, the fundamental question to ask today is to ask, are we truly democratic? Unexamined life is not worth living. You must at any step try to examine what we are doing. After 25 years of experimenting and trying to be a democratic country, it is now time to ask questions. Are we truly democratic? And you start by defining.
Okay, so I'm going to be pausing it every so often, and as I'm sure you know I would. But the first thing is the audacity Peter Obi calling essentially a verdict on the Nigerian democratic journey. He is essentially a product of all that he is and all that he was is essentially of the largest of that process, one. And the Nigerian democratic journey from 1999 till date has leaped forward in quantum leaps. So the quantum leaps that the Nigerian democratic journey has leapt is what then facilitates, is what has created the space for somebody like Peter Obi to be in front of the media space, trying to chart directions and trying to push through. You know, because under the previous incarnations of previous attempts, somebody like Peter Obi would not even be an entity. So the creation of Peter Obi as an entity is testament to the progression that the Nigerian democratic journey has made. That's one. And then the other one is the real testament to the Nigerian democratic journey so far in a short 20 plus years since 1999 is that February 2023 election. So that was the most keenly contested, the most authentic election, even superseding the Abiola election that we have ever had. So this present dispensation now, this present round of elections that we have had under this new electoral bill is the best yet instance of Nigerians actually somewhat broadly selecting who they want to be ruled by. Not ruled by, but governed by, because we're not being ruled, we're being governed. So this is the best yet that we've ever yet progressed democratically. And that was universally observed by the international space, who sent a whole bank of all manners of persons, and all of them universally endorsing that broadly, what happened in 2023 was broadly the will of the Nigerian people. But then, of course, it's a sour grapes of a sore loser. So let's so from that as the backdrop, sour grapes of a sore loser who still thinks he has one more chance. So this essentially a man pushing is pushing against is hoping against hope.
Defining what it's supposed to be. Democracy is supposed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people. So the fundamental question is this government of the people? Is it by the people? And is it for the people?
All right. So let me answer that question. It is a government of the people because, of course, a lot of people. Let me actually address something. A lot of people keep going around saying that Tinubu scored 30, or the incumbent government scored 36 or 30 whatever percent of the votes, which doesn't represent the popular will. But that's a misreading of the landscape. So there were a plethora of contestants in that election, and out of that vast amount of contestants, to quote the words of Tony Elumelu, there was one last man standing. So that, however many votes that he got, the percentile of is inconsequential, because you have to understand that unless you have, like in the United Kingdom, for instance, they what purpose to be a three-party state, but really essentially a two-party state. So you have the Conservatives and the Labour Party, and the votes generally go just either of those ways. So if you have somebody scoring 40-something% to somebody's, so you can have those margins. But if you have the 4-5-way contestation that we had within the Nigerian elections, then it's essentially who gets more and fulfills the legal requirement. So that essentially constitutes the popular vote. So if the will of the people abundantly amongst the people that deemed to vote, their will is essentially what manifests. So if you had like 100 million registered voters and only 1 million of them had to make the effort to vote. So I'm not saying that that's the situation in Nigeria. I'm just saying it to make the example. If you had 100 million people registered to vote, and only only 1 million out of that 100 million deemed to exercise that franchise, so whoever scores the most out of that 1 million still represents the popular will. So you cannot say that, 100 million people were registered, but 1 million people voted. That does not then account for the popular will, because the facilitation was there for all 100 million to vote, but the 90 million decided not to for a variety of reasons. So you cannot say that. But what you can say is that out of that 1 million that voted, if you extrapolate and project those votes, they will still cascade, even if 100 million people voted. So this is statistical projection. So and that is why they do sample size. So if you sample size a demography, what essentially obtains from that sample size is broadly manifest for that whole demography, give or take minuscule margins here and there. So saying that Tinubu scored 30 whatever percent, that still represents the popular will of the Nigerians, because the abundance of Nigerians, especially the ones that voted, they wanted him. Not anybody else, they wanted him. So that is what this guy will never get it, of course, and that is why he will continue. I think he's going to take on the baton from Atiku Abubakar as a perpetual also run.
Beneath this is supposed to be a benefit for the people, which is not there today, absence of which have led to leadership failure over the years that brought massive corruption, hunger, sufferings, all of pain, insecurity, everything. So the opposite is what we've experienced. What we should actually be celebrating is a sort of state capture, where have cornered all the benefits that are meant for the people. All the people are supposed to see in terms of good education, good health, and pulling them out of poverty have been cornered by the few.
All right, just to pre-warn you, what you are going to hear essentially throughout however long I deem to suffer this guy is just lazy-minded populism. It will just go to in all of the questions, and I've not really watched this in full. I'm reacting to it in real time with the rest of you. But knowing Peter Obi, for whatever question, because it doesn't really understand details and it doesn't understand nuance, so it will just go to all of the watering holes of populism. We cannot continue like this. The people are suffering. Everybody is a criminal apart from myself. And it would then go on with those in China statistics that never really coheres with fact checking, and that is essential. And that's what it's going to do all the way through. But let's suffer it a bit more.
Who have captured the system, and they continue at the suffering and expense of all. And the list is endless. You can go there and see the measure of democracy. We are 4.23, which shows we're low. You look at the hunger index, we're 109 over 124 countries measured, which shows we're.
And just as I predicted, is back to his dubious statistics. In the debate, he doesn't really understand any of these things, by the way. He'll just do, I think they give him filler sheets just before. I mean, I don't know, man.
Below, you look at corruption index, we're 145 over 180.
And by the way, it is pronounced index, not indes. So I'm not quite sure what version of the English language is being spoken here, but it is actually pronounced index, not indes. Sorry, I'm being pedantic, but you know.
It shows we're low. You look at law and order, which is supposed to be an intangible.
Look at the man speaking on law and order. This is the guy that extrajudicially pied so many people as the Anambra state governor and threw them into a river. This is the law and order man.
Full assets that drives democracy were very low. We're 120 over countries measured. So you could see we're low in every facet. If you compare even the electioneering.
And by the way, it's saying we're low in every facet, but if you go and look at his record as the Anambra state governor, Ngige, who was his predecessor, and is it Obi'S who was his successor, they both outperformed him. The poverty index in Anambra state, and go to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics to fact check me, because we have rolled out the facts on this platform countless times. The poverty index in Anambra state under Peter Obi, it went up 100% from when it took off from Ngige to when Obi'S came to rescue the state. The poverty index, you know, and this is a guy, by the way, that completely abandoned due process as the governor of that state, because it was essentially ruling as an emperor. You know, it never recourse to any decision making to the state assembly, because he told you that is it due process or do we get things done? I have, you know, so this is a guy that anyway, let's carry on.
Process that brings our leaders into office. Again, we're very low. Let's just take the recent elections in comparable countries of South Africa, India, Mexico. In all these three countries, first is that over 60% of registered voters participated in voting. Polling booths opened, over 80% opened on time and closed on time without incidents, no ballot snatching, no this and everything.
You know, Peter Obi is a very lucky man. Just because I was tidying up the studio before this stream, I deleted quite a few videos just so I can upload a few more. Some of the videos that I deleted were incidents of ballot stuffing in South Africa. Another one that I deleted, which I actually played yesterday, so people who watched yesterday's stream would have seen it, is a account of a massive vote rigging in South Africa. So anyway, you know, Obi'S statistics is just you know, it's oil and water, isn't it?
And results were transmitted electronically without any hitches, no glitches, nothing.
Well, there was a slight hitch in the South African transmission, but not to the degree.
No, it didn't affect the result because every party accepted it. It was a very minor thing. I watched it sitting down.
Just to address that as well, whatever glitches we experienced in the Nigerian election did not affect the result. So because the contestation is that the results were not transmitted in real time. So the results being transmitted in real time or not does not affect the results. Were the results submitted, were they accurate to the will of the people? That is what affects the result. It's not whether it was transmitted in real time or not. Do you have contrary evidence to suggest or to prove that the results presented runs contrary to the result that was announced broadly, significantly to affect the election? So that is it. So, and that is what Charles, but then Charles will never push him hard, as you know, both of the same stock.
In my own sitting room from beginning to the end. India, that was supposed to have over, the people that voted in India are 3 times the Nigerian population. Yet you could say it. The election was accepted. In our own case, less than 25% of the voters participated.
And indeed, those who came out, many of them were prevented from
Thank you. At the polling booths, you know.
All right. So less than 25% of the voters participated. So that's a global phenomenon, one. And then what is the attribution to? Were they prevented from voting? I'm not aware that I know you go with MC Oluomo, Mama Chinedu and all that. I'm not aware that anybody was prevented from voting in that election. So people just used the election day as a holiday because perhaps they don't have any faith in the system for whatever reason. But nobody was. So if it's telling you that less than 25% of the registered voters voted, then that does not because I've already just explained that. So however percentile voted, you can still extrapolate from the from the votes documented and project, you know, because that is how statistics work. That is how sampling works. If even if 25% are voted, you can extrapolate from that 25% that voted to project that is the will of 100%, because essentially it represents a pattern. So that pattern, if 100% came out, that vast pattern, give or take just minor margins, minuscule margins, they will still they will still return in the same result. So this is, I don't know, man. This guy doesn't seem to understand anything.
Open on time, close late, close early, with all sorts of fraud and everything. And when you think about it, in these countries that I mentioned, these were carried out by ordinary citizens. In our own case, despite all this fraud, glitches, everything, it was being executed by professors. So there must be something we need to re-examine and ask ourselves question: how do we get it right? For our children, for the future generation, we can't continue on this path.
So how do we get it right?
By doing it right. The government can stamp and said, I recall late President Yar'Adua, who's admitted that the process that brought him to office is faulty, and he was bent on changing it and putting the right steps.
But that's a false analogy, though. The process that brought Yar'Adua into power was flawed, but the process that brought Tinubu into power is the nearest yet that we have ever gotten to a democratic manifestation of the Nigerian popular will. So the journey we're embarked on now is the first instance of a democratic journey. You know, so this guy anyway.
To do that.
So do you think
which was followed up by Jonathan?
Right.
And participated in an election where for the first time the ruling party and the president lost the election. Just like you can see in the way I've just told you, the ANC in South Africa had a reduced position. In India, the same thing happened. They accepted it.
So do you think that the reason for this problem that you've identified is politicians in power consciously refusing to give those institutions the latitude to operate?
Exactly. And making sure it happened. Institutions must be respected by those in office. They must make sure for the future of the society, for the future of our children, a leader or those who are in leadership must do things rightly.
So in that regard, when you look at the highest office in this country, an office that you aspire to, what do you see? Do you see an individual that respects or does not respect the rule of law, and who, through his actions and those of his deputies and possibly ruling party?
I did tell you that it's a family gathering. This Charles Anyagolu and Peter Obi. So that's raw meat that is feeding him here. So what Obi gobble it up? So that's a raw meat sort of a question. And Obi will gobble it up like a carnivore.
He supports or does not support the fabric of this country's democracy.
Charles, I live this, you can ask ordinary Nigerians.
Well, I'm asking you.
I don't think they do. No. They don't. That's why.
And what is this phrase, by the way, ordinary Nigerians? So what is that opposed to? Is that opposed to extraordinary Nigerians? So I thought they were only Nigerians. I didn't know there was a. I didn't know there was a totem pole. I didn't know there was a hierarchy of extraordinary and ordinary Nigerians. We use that phrase a lot, ordinary Nigerians. What does that even mean?
Why it's happened? If they do, it won't happen.
You do recognize, though, that a lot of the people who are in power have inherited decades of rot, and you can't wave a magic wand and all that rot will disappear.
Charles, I don't like discussing this today. No matter where you start, if you mean well, you can start correcting them. The role of a leader is not to remind people of the past or mention the past or think about the past. Your role is to show the path by doing things that are right. Change starts from you. By you, if you decide to walk the right path.
So I did pre-warn you that this guy is never going to offer anything. He will go to peppy little cliches. He will go to standardized speech patterns. He will go to prefabricated sort of a set plays, but he would never intuit anything or tell you anything organic or original. As change starts with you. What does that even mean? Change starts with you. What Charles was asking him, and this is the first minor punchy question that he is asking is that, look, looking at the backdrop of where the country came from to land on the incumbent laps, do you not see then that those circumstances necessitate where we are now? And Peter Obi say, no, you cannot look at the past. If you don't look at the past, then how do you chart the future? And say, anyway, let's just carry on.
That's how it starts. You can decide, okay, yesterday it was wrong. That's even part of why we hired you. Because it was wrong yesterday, we didn't hire you to remind us or start giving us the excuse, but to show the solution and how.
To be fair to Tinubu, I don't think because if you look at the whole 8 years of the Buhari administration, the only thing that they ever did was to pass the buck to the Goodluck Jonathan administration. Up to Buhari's last day, their failure, they were just blaming it on Goodluck Jonathan for 8 years. But when Tinubu came in, he told us pointedly that is inheriting the assets and the liability of his predecessor. So I'm not quite sure if Peter Obi heard that. So I'm not quite sure what he is speaking about now.
How best to do it. That is leadership.
So in that respect, after 25 years of unbroken democracy, which Nigeria is marking this week, are we walking on the edge of a razor blade, as someone put it? Are you pessimistic or optimistic?
Very, very pessimistic. We're actually walking in the right direction.
In the right direction?
In the wrong direction.
In the wrong direction.
We're actually walking in the wrong direction.
You see? It's just a confused man, isn't it? It's the right direction. Oh God. Anyway.
Right.
Very wrong direction. And we need to change it and walk in the right direction.
No. How are we walking in the wrong direction is more the question. So are we walking in the wrong direction because you lost an election? Are we walking in the wrong direction because there are fundamental flaws in the system? Or are we walking in the wrong direction because there are minor kinks that can be corrected? Because you losing an election does not then transmute to the whole democracy being unfit to be thrown into the bin. No, there was never any chance of you not losing the election. So that's not testament to anything. But then, of course, it'll be gobbledygook all the way through with this character.
And it has to start from the number one person.
Well, let's assess that walking in the right direction or wrong direction and that number one person. Let's turn to President Tinubu's first year anniversary. After 1 year in office, do you think he has displayed the strength and the ability to tackle Nigeria's many problems? Are you impressed with mega projects, for example, like the Lagos-Calabar Highway?
Well, I've never made comment about 1 year in office. The reason why is simple. I would say that President Tinubu have kept to his campaign promises. Throughout the campaign, he consistently maintained that he will continue from where Buhari stopped. And that is done very well.
And by the way, if you've ever wondered what Soludo meant by the Nzobu politics that he referenced in his now infamous essay, this is it at its epicenter right here at its peak. So this guy is just going to do dog whistles in third meaning. And, if it doesn't come into the politics will continue to outplay him. That's just as simple as it is. You cannot bully your way in. You cannot abuse your way into power. You cannot strong arm your way into power. The only way you can get into power is to politic. And this is a global norm, by the way, not anything peculiar to Nigeria. You cannot bullhorn, you cannot strong arm, you cannot unzobu, you cannot scream and shout or abuse your way into power. No, it has never ever happened. The only way you can get into power, there's two ways. It's either through like some violent revolution, or you politic your way into power. So all these endless dog whistles to raw meat eaters, yes, it will induce even more abuse from that space, but it is never going to cascade them into anything outside of just that that myopia of that paradigm. So let me just stop there before I run out of words.
Excellent. I'll give him excellent pass mark. And it's very simple. Dollar was 460, is now 1,005. Fuel was 230.
All right. So that just shows how myopic. So what Peter Obi tells you now is that he doesn't understand economics or anything. It will tell you he was a chairman of a bank. He's telling you neither. I did tell you that everything he will say in the course of this interaction with Charles is going to be dog whistles to raw meat eaters. So it will go to these peppy little cliches out there and regurgitate them to say carry on in that manner. Dollar was 4 something, now it's 1,000 or something. But why is where the question is. So we know that it was for whatever, and it's however much it is now. But the question is why? So the why is that the government removed arbitrage, they removed subsidy essentially from the dollar. So now the question is, why did they do that? Why did they do that? And was it the wrong decision to do that? So don't tell us that dollar was X and it is now Y. We know that dollar was X and it is now Y. And we know why dollar was X and it is now Y, because the government decided to throw the naira in the air and ask it to find its own value. But was that the right decision? That is the question. Should they have free floated the naira or continued to subsidize it? So that's really where the question is. But he either doesn't have any concept of that, or is fundamentally a disingenuous sort of a person, which makes him fundamentally a dishonest sort of a person. Or if he doesn't understand it at all, then that tells you that it's not fit for purpose. But all it will do is just to throw raw meat to populism.
And he consistently maintained that he will continue from where Buhari stopped. And that is done very well. I would say excellent. I'll give him excellent pass mark. And it's very simple. Dollar was 460, is now 1,005.
Yes, but why? Why is that?
Fuel was 238, is now about 700.
And why is that?
Diesel was 844, is now 1,000.
And why is that? And what would you have done differently?
Is 30,
you see, this guy has to be one of the most annoying people known to mankind. Deba and debi jabba 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 and jibby. Fuel is tata and fuel is jibby. Forget the jibba jabba. We know that. So go to the why. Go to the decisions made to arrive at this description that you're giving, and provide a nuanced, quantifiable, auditable alternative. Not, oh, dibidi, it was 700, though, it is about the why is that the case, and what should have been done differently? So let's interrogate your own thoughts rather than just throwing raw meat to popular pain points and ask people to rage and howl at the moon.
A bag of beans was similar, 30, 35, is now about 90. Gary was 27, 28, is now 49, 50. A tuber of yam was about 2,007 to 3,000, now is about 10,000. Tomato basket is about 40,000, that is over 150,000. Electricity is 66 kilowatts, is now over 200. You can go on and on. Our debts, even bread, which is a basic thing, other countries that subside, like Egypt, bread, smaller, medium bread was 450 naira. It's not 900 naira. The big one is 900, is 1,005. Our debt, like I mentioned, was 87. By end of
You know what I call this? I call this Chineke me politics. Chineke me, Chineke me, Chineke me, vote me for president. What is your own idea? Quantify them, condense them, sequence them, uh, 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 add numbers and figures to them, and let's interrogate them. Chineke me, Chineke me, just Chineke me. It will Chineke me till 2027. Get another round of flogging, and then he will throw people on the streets to get shot.
of last year, it was actually 97. The highest we've done within that short period. Now is over about over 100 trillion. In fact, this year alone, the government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, have issued and taken from the system borrowing of over 16 trillion naira. You can imagine the interest at all.
You see, it's the ambiguity in what he said. He says the government they have issued and taken from the system. What does that mean? What does it mean in actual terms? What does it mean? You know, what have they issued and what have they taken? You know, because it's dog whistling to, is it quantitative or Naira printing or whatever it is that they were doing under Emefiele system. It's dog whistling to that without actually saying it because it doesn't really have the confidence in what it's saying. They have issued and taken from this. What does that mean? Is it external borrowing? Is it internal borrowing? Is it from the sovereign wealth? What have they taken and what for? So it will just vague ambiguities, dog whistling, and then Chineke me, and then it will just say some vague, Chineke me. It will just say some vague ambiguity that just infers at some untowardness, and it will go Chineke me, Chineke. It will Chineke me till 2027.
Almost 20%. Is about 3.2 trillion after 12 months. At that, last year, in a period of 9 months, we spent about 5.7 trillion servicing as debt interest on our payments. So add that. So overall,
which country on this planet doesn't either carry debt or service debt? So are you saying that Nigeria should not have debt? Is that what you're saying? Or if they have the debt, they should not service it? So do you see? It's just that vague, unquantifiable, intangible, unsubstantial sort of pronouncement. They are spending XYZ servicing debt. Yes, the country carries debt and the debt has to be serviced. So are you saying the country should not carry debt? Or are you saying if they do carry debt, the debt should not be serviced? This is it. Chineke me.
it's done well. Let's even go back to the overall of the economy. By the time he took over last year, we were still the biggest economy in Africa with $477 billion as our GDP, followed by South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco. Today, we are number 4. South Africa is number 1 now, I think about $373 billion. Egypt is second, $347 billion, followed by Algeria, 266. And we are now 252 billion GDP economy. It's even worse.
I don't think quite this guy has any concept of what he's talking about. The economy has essentially been rebased as a consequence of the floating of the naira, which then redenominalizes the economy. So if you actually look at the Nigerian economy in its full quantum, it's still the biggest economy in Africa. But if you look at the denominated discountation that took place as a consequence of the floating of the naira, then it gives you a different reading. And Nigeria, even Lagos State, is almost a 200 billion economy. So quite where this guy is getting his statistical data from, that Nigeria is a 200 and something billion economy. Anyway, it's just anyway.
When you go to a per capita, we are actually 1/4 of per capita of the list of these nations that I mentioned. South Africa is over 6,000 per capita. Egypt is 4,000 plus. So is Algeria.
So are we factoring population into that per capita measure? Because let me actually check the population size. Hold on. Hold on. South Africa population. South Africa is about 60 million, and then South Africa GDP, and its GDP is 405 billion dollars. So a 60 million population with a 405 billion per capita GDP. So a 60 million population with a 405 billion GDP will, by just the simple logic of reasoning, tell you that the per capita will be a lot more favorable because there is more money servicing a smaller population. So if we go to Nigeria population, Nigeria's population vaguely about 220 million people, and Nigeria GDP is about 472 billion, which Peter Obi is telling you is 200 billion. But if you look at it, it's just simple math. So this is it. This guy has no concept of everything. It's just Chineke me. It's just going to Chineke me for another. Anyway, let's just carry on.
And then Morocco, which among this is supposed to be the fifth, at 4,210, and we are 1,000 plus. So we actually gone low. We're coming from a low of per capita of 3,000 plus in 2014. So we've every other thing have headed south. You see, insecurity is worsened.
Well,
corruption has worsened.
Well, insecurity statistically and reporting wise has not worsened, so that is a categorical lie. And corruption has not worsened because we are not recording the incidents. If you look under the Buhari administration, the Goodluck Jonathan administration, etc., that was a cesspool. Those were cesspools of corruption. We all know what happened under Buhari now. They were just literally going into the central bank with bullion vans and telling Emefiele to pack it full and park some on the roof. You know, so I'm not quite sure. It's anyway. Like I said, it's going to be a Chineke me whatever.
To the rule of law has worsened. The country has been nepotism is at the highest.
Let's look at one issue that you mentioned, and you came up with quite voluble statistics there, and that is the issue of the economy. The president, in the clip we played earlier, before our interview began, made it clear that he was aware of the fact that there would be pain before gain. I mean, if you look at every economy from Argentina to all the ones that have tried to reform their economies, there's always a bit of pain before the gain comes. That comes with putting in reforms, fundamental reforms that would eventually lead to an improvement in the economy. What I'm curious to know is, if you had become president, how difficult would it have been to govern in the current environment? Because you would have inherited essentially what President Buhari left for you to inherit. Because some have argued that whoever took over from President Buhari would have inherited a country that would have been very difficult to fix, with so much borrowing and debt and corruption and the fall in the currency and all the rest of it. Yes, you could argue that the government, that was part of their what they said were their reforms. But in other words, you would not have been able to turn things around and deliver in 1 year.
Okay, that's a pointed and that's a pointed and a directed question right there from Charles. So he's saying, look at the backdrop that is the build-up to the transition of power from one administration to the other. The just hemorrhaging and comatosing of the Nigerian space by the Buhari administration, the heavy debts, the corruption, the vast insecurity, the imported headsmen to come and seize the country, all of these things that Buhari did to the country. A lot of people argue that it was near impossible for anybody that takes over not to take the sort of measures that Tinubu is taking now. And Charles is now inviting him that if you were president, would you not have taken pretty much the broad strokes of the decisions that Tinubu has taken? So that's the question that Charles is asking. And it's a very pointed and a very clear question, that given what was inherited, what other choice was there? So that's the question. So now, predictably, we'll watch it together, but you will see Peter Obi just go back to the usual watering holes, chanting populism, telling you about people suffering and howling, Chineke me, Chineke me. Is going to answer this same question as it will answer every other question with Chineke me. But let's listen.
Charles, the first thing you do as a leader who inherited a difficult situation is to lead by example, and then start by your own style, by your behavior, your conduct, how you manage the resources. You cannot say that things are difficult when you're living in conspicuous consumption. The things you don't do. Nigeria today is a country with the highest amount.
So it's going to go to it's going to go to how people are suffering and whatnot. You can see him already building up to that. But I just paused it there to where he said you cannot live by conspicuous consumption. So are we getting conspicuous consumption with the Tinubu administration? That's the question. Are we getting excesses in government? Because Tinubu decreed that the entourage of travel, both for himself and for his acolytes cascading through the ministerial space, should be pruned down, so that lesser numbers, take less people on travels, cut the cost. So there is that. So that is not a conspicuous consumption, which is this peppy little phrase that Peter Obi has heard, probably doesn't have a full understanding of, but it sounded good to him and he just decided to repeat it. So that is not conspicuous consumption. That is a prudent understanding of the landscape. So that's not conspicuous consumption. So also trying to ignite the Oronsoye report to prune down the totality of governance. That is not conspicuous consumption. But you know where he's going to, of course, is going to the populism of the senatorial SUVs, and then he will bring that up. I'm not sure if he will bring that up in whatever he's going to say next, but he will bring the inferences of that up, and then he will land it with the standardized Chinekeme. But let's listen on.
Of people without homes, over 24 million. Yet, you're spending 20-something billion to build a house for one person.
Oh, all right. So you're spending. It's just I just tire of it. You know what this guy is actually doing is a disservice to the Nigerian state, because he presents a real opportunity, or a real opportunity presents to him to hold the government to account, because he seems to enjoy some sort of a popularity amongst a certain type of demography. So, but it's not leveraging that at all in any manner that it should be used. You know, it's just going to dog whistles and unzoboisms. You know, forget. Okay, this house being built for whatever it is that's being built for the vice president. One is a carryover from the previous administration, because that project was actually started under the Buhari Oshibanjo space. That's one. And then the completion of it, 20 something billion. How much is that in real money? Is that $5 million thereabout, whatever? I don't think that is excessive to build a villa or an apartment or a bungalow for a vice president. I don't think I don't think that's excessive. That's one. And I do not and also when Tinubu and Shetima finish in 8 years' time, Shetima doesn't then take the title deeds of that vice presidential villa and take ownership and possession of it. No, it's the Nigerian state that owns it. It's the same narrative around the presidential yacht that was budgeted for as a final payment towards a purchase by the Buhari administration. And there he was. I suppose he's playing politics as he understands it.
Mr. Just, I just said that a vice president of Nigeria cannot live in a 4-bedroom house. You live in the UK. 10 Downing Street is 3 rooms. That is an economy that is almost
10 Downing Street is not 3 rooms. It's a 100-room complex, but the apartment of the Prime Minister or within 10 Downing Street is not 3 rooms either, but it's actually 2 rooms. It's a tiny little flat, but the whole of the structure is actually a 100-room complex. You know, so however big the villa is for the vice president, it will have office spaces, it will have staff quarters, and I don't expect that the living quarters of the vice president will be more than 2-3 rooms. So that's one. And if you go to the White House, it's a sprawling edifice. You know, so I'm not quite sure. Anyway, that's Peter Obi. Anyway, it doesn't get a lot of these things.
10 times our economy today. And the prime minister lives in 3 rooms. So that's where you start. You start by living like somebody who is coming through difficulty, who is facing difficulty, who wants to change things. That's how we do it. You don't engage in what we've been doing, buying vehicles, partying and everything as if things are normal. When you say there's difficulty, you need to deal with the issue of cutting the cost of governance. That's
you see that Peter Obi'S, whatever it is that he's saying, it bears no relationship with the question being asked by Charles. Charles is asking, this is the backdrop which necessitates, which a lot of people argue necessitates the decisions being taken now. Would you have done it alternatively? So that's what he's saying. But Peter Obi goes back to his natural birthing place, birthing as in a sheep birth, you know, which is righteous indignation. So it's just indignant from Orca. That's just his response to that.
That's where you start.
So
You need to deal with the issue of massive corruption. That is showing that I am now okay, things are bad. Just have served the system. Where I came in and found that
You see, these are peripheral issues. What he's talking about, they are in the periphery, as we say in Nigeria, of the broader. You know, these are just just fluffy, whatever it is that I said. What Charles was asking him are fundamentals. So, buying SUVs in the Senate or not buying SUVs in the Senate does not in any way address the fundamental issue that afflicts the country. If you're talking about the optics, that might be a point, but the fundamental issue of a country heavily subsidized that embeds within its corruption, which is no longer sustainable, what Peter Obi is speaking to. It is not you cannot be consumption and buying it. That's not what he's talking about. What Charles was asking, it was that the country is heavily indebted, comatose completely by Buhari, and the structures continue to facilitate the hemorrhaging of the state. So, what other choice did the government have? So, is it to continue with the status quo, to continue subsidizing the naira, so that arbitrage and round tripping will continue till the country completely collapses and people start to cannibalize themselves on the streets? So you have to understand that naira was 400 and whatever. So when naira was 400 and whatever, the value of naira then was actually 1,000 whatever it is, or probably worse or more than it is now. So what made naira whatever it is was that the government was setting the rate for the naira. So the government was defending the value of the naira at whatever amount it was then, 400 and whatever. So for them to defend the value of that naira for at 400 and something, as opposed to its market value, they had to then cover that market value, the differential, with a subsidy. Do you get? So that is how then people are able to go into the CBN, pull out a whole bunch of of dollars, and go to the open market and quadruple that dollar. So there it is right there. So that 400 was an artificial space, and the country was using a good 35% of its GDP to defend an artificial positioning of the currency, which was not sustainable. Ditto vis-a-vis the fuel subsidy as well. So we were essentially defending untenable positions that the economy could not sustain. And that is the question. So that's the question that Charles is putting to our man from Oka born Peter Obi. But he either doesn't understand the question or he doesn't have the panacea. So he goes to the usual. We kind of the people are suffering. The price of Gary, so that's his natural go-to.
things are bad. And we start by cutting the cost of governance.
So is that what you'd like to see him? I mean, the first year is gone. You know, that's a fact. But he's now entering his second year. He has entered. What are the things that
No, you have to also show a clear plan. It is not enough to say, oh, we're going to go through problem. If we're going to go through problem, this is very simple. You enter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not quite sure how a clear plan is not being shown. Because the plan of the government is quite open and lucid to anybody that has the capacity to, the plan is quite open and lucid. Free float the naira to establish its value, grow the economy to defend the value of the currency, remove subsidy from the fuel petroleum space to pull back from that corruption, reinvest that subsidy into infrastructure. That infrastructure a propellant for economic growth, and everything strikes a balance. Put a lot of the savings that you're pulling from the corruption, and this is an anti-corruption administration, by the way. Removing arbitrage from those two key spaces is the most fundamental anti-corruption move that Nigeria has ever made. So the monies pulled from those spaces, put it back into the masses. So in terms of subsidized living, subsidized education, credit facilitation, and the growth of an organic system that self-sustains. So I think the plan is quite clear, but our man from Oka, you know how he is now.
Plane. It's a bad weather. There's going to be a turbulence. The pilot says we're going to go through bad weather. It's going to take us maybe 1 hour, 2 hours because of this. And he follows it through. That is not the time. In that bad weather, everybody, even the crew, are asked to sit down. That's not time to start serving food and wine and everything when everything is up and down. That's why we're there. We're in turbulence and people are still dancing and everything. I always say what happened to Titanic is what is happening in Nigeria. While the plane was going on, the people on the upper deck were busy dancing until the whole thing collapsed. That's what is happening now. We should change and do things rightly. We can change and manage corruption and everything and all that.
Well, hopefully the people in power and in the know are listening to you. But let me move away from President Tinubu and come to you. In terms of the candidates who will potentially challenge President Tinubu in 2027, and you certainly sound like one of them, and how voters rate them with regard to how fit for the job they are, I am quite sure that many people will say that you obviously stand out. But do you think that your public standing has grown or diminished since the 2023 election?
Charles, I don't know. It's only the public that will know.
Yeah, but you interact with them.
Mine is to continue interacting.
That's an important question by Charles, actually, and I don't expect that Peter Obi would. But that's a question to be asked. Has Peter Obi's popularity grown? Has it diminished, or has it plateaued since the election till date? So I don't see that Peter Obi is any more popular than he was. Is as vocal as he was all the way through the election, and he continues to interact with his space. So there is that, and then that continues to octave within the media space. So the fact that it continues to reverberate within the media space, and the fact that his adherents, the fanatics, the fanatical following, they continue to fervently be fanatical, I don't think that is necessarily suggests any progression in popularity or not. I don't think, if anything, I think a lot of people are somewhat starting to tire of the Peter. Yes, a lot of people are starting to somewhat tire of the Peter Obi space because it's getting too vacuous, it's getting too noisy, it's getting too offensive, and more crucially, it's getting too ethnic. When they start to assault and affront people like Shoyinka, etc., then people will recoil from that, because every and anybody is subject to abuse. So I don't think Peter Obi has grown in He has not grown in popularity. Nobody can say that. But what he continues to do is to continue to maintain a constant media presence, essentially. So that when I say he feeds raw meat to the carnivore, that's essentially what I mean. He continues to maintain a constant media presence with the righteous indignation politics that it seems to the righteous indignation politics space that it seems to occupy. And that is the essential fundamental core of its position. And it's not going to lead to anywhere, by the way, because we've already heard it from Charles Soludo that the Unzobu politics is never really going to take you that much further than it can. But it just righteous indignation and indignant from righteousness and woe betide and woe is me and all of this sort of tedious nonsense it is.
And being part of the process of building a new Nigeria that is possible. Because we can't go on this way. We're headed to a disaster. We must do things rightly. Like I always said, I'm not desperate to be president. I'm desperate to see Nigeria work and work for the poor people of Nigeria.
Right.
The system has been very uncaring for the people of Nigeria, and we must fix it. Work where we have to remove this criminalized system, corruption that we, the politicians, have unleashed on the country, and make it better.
Right. Well, you said that we should go and ask the public about their assessment of your public standing, whether it's grown or diminished. Well, one man who is a member of the public, in a manner of speaking, who seems to think that your standing has diminished is the Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka. He recently attacked you, saying that you are unfit to govern Nigeria. What's your reaction to that?
Well, quite frankly, I will not make a comment to that. Wole Soyinka is the father. I have a policy. I don't respond when my fathers talk.
Yeah, but he's delivered a
I
punch.
leave it to them, because when I became their age, I want those younger ones to respect me, though I will also try to put myself in such a position that I will respect myself before that.
Well, he's delivered.
But I assure you,
right.
One of the things he made is that he talked about the obedience.
Yeah.
Me inciting them. Charles, I will never, knowingly, and I have never,
that is
knowingly or unknowingly,
he daily dog whistles to this raw meat eating carnivals, or I don't even want to say, I was going to say carnivores, but let me actually say cannibals. He daily dog whistles to this raw meat eating cannibals, and then we've all been in that situation. It's a peculiarly Nigerian thing. When you see a situation, you wind somebody up to take on that confrontation with another person, and then you want to come in the middle and pretend to be the peacemaker rather than the instigator. So that is the sort of game that will be played with these raw meat eating carnivores.
Any of the obedience or the young people to say anything against an elder, a priest, a pastor, an imam, and everything. Never. It will never happen.
Nevertheless,
never will happen. And I don't make comments when they make comments.
Right.
It is left for Nigerians to know whether I'm fit or not. I've been a successful businessman in the private sector. I've been in the corporate world and can say I'm one of the most successful. I've also served the state where I still challenge all those who have served Let's put our records side by side and let me know. And when I served, the only measure of development was Millennium Development Goals, which I started 7 years after. When it ended, I was number one.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come to that in a minute, but I just want.
All right, enough of all that noise making. I was only really going to do an hour of this, but To Niger joins us, so we take it to about half an hour. So, To Niger, I suspect that you'd have seen the Peter Obi interaction with Charles in his in the fullness of. So just give us your feel of it, your
Yeah,
take.
thank you. I'm surprised that this one woke you up today and you came
No,
online to
I'm
respond.
trying to do it, but I don't want it to be out of if I don't do it today, then I can't do it anymore. So
Oh my God,
I want
you are
to
you are looking for trouble, man. You were trolling all the obedience, you calling them all kinds of names. Jesus Christ, what is this now? See, okay, what Peter Obi is doing. Peter Obi is a politician, by the way, and there are some things he has done recently that may not help him as much politically. Like remaining silent when the anthem was being changed, and with this Abure saga, all those things are not helpful. However, his own vision and his own approach, at least the way he describes it, appears better than the way the current administration is pursuing their policies. Like they took out subsidy. They didn't tell us how they are going to use it. They just did whatever they like with it. No, they didn't even consult people what they were going to do with the money. And then they went and flooded the currency, and look at where the economy is right now. Inflation is through the roof. So you can see why he has a right to criticize them. The current government damaged the economy worse than 8 years of this thing, Buhari. And remember, you were saying something about that property that they started building. It is still APC. Remember, when P2B criticized Tinubu, it's not only Tinubu, it's also criticizing Buhari, the same APC. Remember, it's still the same party that is doing all these things. And yes, it's not a lot of money when you take into account the entire budget of the country. But the signaling that they are sending to the people is that they don't care. When people tell them, why are you not using locally made vehicles? They don't care. They go and buy foreign made vehicles. When the people tell them that, you know what, this foreign exchange that you went and did is making our life even harder, they don't care. People bought into the subsidy remover. But this foreign exchange thing, they didn't buy it. And our businessmen now are not able to buy things overseas. These are like low-level things. Businessmen can't buy things now. It's more expensive. And if they buy it, they bring it back into the country to sell it. They have to sell it more expensive. You know, I priced something 2 weeks ago. No, just about a month ago. And then when I came back again, the price has gone up 20%. The guy was like, yeah, that was the price. Now this is the price. This is this year, not that long ago. It's still happening. I thought the inflation has plateaued, but now it begins to dawn on me that inflation is continuous. That they continuously keep increasing the price of things. It doesn't stop. That is what I'm experiencing in Nigeria, and this is what the government has created, and they are struggling to control it. And you wonder, it's not P2B that is the problem. Like we can say whatever we like about P2B. If Tinubu performs well, there is nothing P2B will do.
Sorry, to Niger, can you read this headline? This is from 2 years ago.
Yes, that's true, but it depends on how you do it. And if you see Tinubu, what he did was it's managed float now, according to Kolata. That's what they are doing. They are doing managed float. Managed float is a form of you can even describe it as a form of fixing, depending on what your preference is. You can manage float is a currency so that it is around 700 naira per per dollar. You can manage float the currency to 800 naira per dollar. It depends on what you want, where you choose to intervene. When they say manage, it means the government can intervene whenever they don't like what is happening to the currency. So it depends on. It's always about the way you approach policies, even if the policies are the same. Tinubu coming in, removing fuel subsidy, and don't tell anybody how he's going to use it and just spend it anyhow. It's different from P2B that says he's going to itemize what he's going to do with the money and transparently execute those things. Very, very different, even if it's the same policy. Tinubu saying that.
Sorry, to Niger, can you read this headline? This is from 2 years ago.
Peter Obi promises to remove fuel subsidy if elected. I just explained it. It's the way you do it. And what you do not to create problems for the fuel subsidy. If you remove fuel subsidy and you go and cause problem that costs you to go and bring back the fuel subsidy, how is that removing fuel subsidy? You created double problem. You might as well have left it where it was before. You see what I mean? So this government, see, whatever I would like we can say about P2B, his opposition party leader. Personally, I would have been a lot more active than he has been. I would be on the government's case every single step. Maybe if he had done that a bit more, the government would have been careful about some of the policies that they are carrying out without even thinking. They would have been look at this in the Lagos to Calabar road from 10 lanes to 6 lanes. They are just all over the place.
You see, the Lagos to Calabar road is it's a developmental choice that a sitting government has made. But in terms of policy thrust, Peter Obi in his campaign, he did not, because of course he came up with his manifesto last after everybody came out with theirs, and it sort of mirrored what everybody else had. The two marquee spaces are the removing arbitrage from oil and forex. He made that as an electoral promise as well.
See,
And,
let me say this.
and if he said he was going to float the naira, then what is happening now essentially is what will happen now. If he floated the naira, which is to say to let the naira determine its value at the free market, then what is happening is what will happen now. So if he would have managed it differently, then he could tell us how he would have managed it differently. But if he
Yeah.
was going to float the naira, which in just the most fundamental understanding, establish your value, willing buyer, willing seller, then what we're having essentially is what will happen now.
Hello,
So
Woman, can I interject you?
hold on. If it's able to insulate the hardship on the people through a different other set of palliative measures, then that's a different thing. But essentially, if the naira is floated, what is happening is what would have happened is what is happening now.
I'm sure it would have been very different. If you, I'd say, to be fair, I can't be 100% sure, but based on the way P2B approaches politics and the way
Tonight, can I interject, please?
done, you can have to take permission from one man.
Woman, can I interject? Because based on this subsidy removal, P2B was actually very clear with it on his manifesto, except he wants to be disingenuous about what you're saying. If you read the manifesto, what he said and how he's going to carry out the removal of that subsidy, he said he's going to remove it by 50%. By 50%. Having the so that after making our modular refinery to work properly, you remove it by 50% so that it will not impact on the citizen, so that they can still carry on with their normal activities. Because when you remove by 50%, then we'll now know the actual quantity that we are consuming and see whether we will continue subsidizing it or not. But he stated on his manifesto is by 50%.
So that's the point I'm making, and I think one of your biggest sins or mistakes is the way you look at P2B's way of looking at the economy. P2B represents what I described before. These our reliance on sophisticated minutia and educated approach to things is wrong. Somebody that has a better macro view of things is actually better for you, because that person approach is actually more consequential. Like if you look at these Tinubu and the others that you call very sophisticated, look at the mess they made of the economy. They were like, oh, the Tinubu has got this qualification, that one has. P2B that doesn't have it has a better coherent macro view of what needs to be done, and he also talks about what he will do on the micro level when he actually wants to execute the policies, the process he's going to use, how he's going to make everything transparent, what he's going to do with the funds, those specific funds that he gets. The Tinubu tell you what he's going to do with the money that he took from this thing, fuel subsidy? We don't know. He went and instituted this.
That 50% that to Nigeria, that 50% that Emmanuel said,
Your
by the
audio
way,
is
is
your audio
lie.
is shaky.
But they have got the interview. Oh, sorry.
One man,
I've got the
one man, he said
interview
it's
that
a
he
lie.
spoke on it.
Do you
Yeah,
have
but
one man is not a lie, please.
it's a lie.
Let's get it right.
Yes,
It was categorical.
I've got the
Even on
interview.
his Twitter, on his Twitter, he made it clear too on his.
Sorry. The interview where he spoke on it's about 4 hours long, so I can't play it. But it is a lie. It did not. It said he was going to remove the fuel subsidy. It did not say he was going to remove.
To be fair, that's my
50%.
understanding. That's my understanding too. That
One man, I will send you something now. You will see the trend. He's also made it on his
Emmanuel,
Twitter.
it
I will
doesn't
send it
matter.
to you.
It is how P2B intends.
No. If God, one man is saying is the lie. He is on his manifesto and he's also on his Twitter trend. He was categorically stated it on his Twitter tweet as well.
Emmanuel, see, one other area I fault P2B is P2B's defense policy or security policy is different. It was basically the same as Tinubu's one. But yet, Tinubu has been in office and didn't do one thing about that security policy, which is probably the most important policy any government can carry out. Did P2B say anything about it? No. You have to watch your politicians closely. He kept quiet about that. All he keeps saying is that you have to improve people's lives before security, this thing is going to end. You have to, how about when they were passing the national anthem? Did you see P2B? He remained quiet. You have to be careful about your politicians. And I'm watching him closely. He seems to be saying one thing in one sense when they are playing their rigmarole policies that they are playing. But when the chips are down, he's quiet. He will keep quiet and remain behind the scenes. You have to ask yourself, why has P2B been quiet about his security policy? Why has he been quiet? Why was he quiet when they talked about the the national anthem? He remained quiet.
If he spoke on insecurity, then he will have to speak on non-government and IPOB, and that is a cardinal. That would be a cardinal thing. If he did that, it will be toast.
You know, no way. Nothing will happen to him. He should be able to speak on those things and push the government to say, you know what?
You can never speak critically of the East now. Do you not know that?
Even okay, you can still do that without even talking about them. You said
yeah, but you can't speak about insecurity without speaking about the East, which is
doesn't have to. He just has to say
of insecurity.
He just has to press the government on their policy, which is his own policy to build our security forces back up. To build it up, they never built it before. Actually, all of them, all the presidential candidates said they were going to do it, and then when the president gets into office, didn't do it. P2B remained quiet. You have to. I read this and I saw the section in the so-called renewed agenda of the APC, and they said it clearly there. They're going to recruit, and they said it at Chattermas too. P2B is talking about 2 million total, but yet has he mentioned one word about that since he got into office? When children are getting kidnapped left and right. This is why you have to just watch your politicians closely, because I like P2B because he's better than all the presidential candidates. But you have to watch him when he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
You can't just glibly gloss over. In what way is he better?
He's better in terms of the approach he takes to policies, one, and he's better in his
approach is
the clarity. In terms of, okay, like I talked about the fuel subsidy. If he took it off,
one man, just read what I sent to you. This is directly from him on his trend. When he was explaining better on that subsidy, he was clear. He clearly stated it there. I send you something now. Don't come and tell me that I'm telling you lie. Read that trend. This is shortly after he released his manifesto 2022. Just read it. He was explaining it detail by details on that trend. He stated how to go about with this subsidy. He stated it clearly there. You can bring it on here and let's read the whole thread. This is the same day.
Beyond total dependence on oil, we will reduce the subsidy cost by over 50% with concomitant measures and counterbalance policies. You see all this, man, all this language. What is the point of those big name words? Because they're going to get more respect.
Is that Peter Obi'S English?
Yeah.
The guy that cannot even say my name.
Our Nigerian politicians, I don't know.
One man, read it. Which one say is it Peter Obi? Are you the one that wrote it?
It's not Peter. Is that Peter? Did Peter Obi write that?
Peter Obi is good in writing, but no.
Why would he use that big language even? Just use
It's not his language now. It's not that,
one man, that is his language.
Nobody knew. Emmanuel, you wonder why nobody knew about that? Look at the kind of language he's using to describe 50%.
Everybody, because we all saw it last year. That is the same day he released his manifesto was the day he put out this tweet there.
All I can tell you is that you have to ask yourself, why is he not pushing for the policies he promoted, especially the most important one, which is security? He's not pushing for it. When he became opposition, is he one man? You know, Niger Farage.
Niger, give it to Peter Obi. He has been trying. He has been coming.
He's the only one. He's better than
his only voice. His only voice that we are hearing. His only voice that is pushing hard. His only voice that's speaking on insecurity.
I agree with you on that. That he's the only one talking compared to even Atiku. However, you have to hold him accountable. That why before you start trusting people, because he could get into office now and situation doesn't change. Because you have to ask yourself, why is it that he too remains quiet on critical points? And I will remember other points where he remained quiet, where he could have said something. He left.
Okay. What is the point you're talking about? Critical point that he's not saying.
Like when it comes to security, he didn't say anything. He doesn't say anything about security in terms of his own policy and the policy that the government espoused when their manifesto. He doesn't hold them accountable. That you said you're going to recruit more into the security forces. Why have you not done it? I wanted to recruit 2 million. Why you said you're going to recruit just as much? Why have you not done anything regarding that? He doesn't say anything about that. The national anthem, when he wanted to change it, he remained completely quiet. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure he has said much about it. So this is the problem with our politicians. You have to know sometimes, why are they not moving in areas where they fear that some people may not be happy with them and they remain quiet? What that tells you is that if he gets into office, he may not be that much different.
All right, let's hear from Simba, who joins us. Simba.
I have not said anything now. You're just babasing me.
No. Let's just document his voice. I'm not sure if I'm just going to end it abruptly, so I just want to make sure everybody. Yeah, Simba.
Okay, sorry. My own is the question, because I've been hearing people talking about subsidy, that the money you remove from subsidy, you have to put it somewhere. Where is the money for subsidy? Do we have any money here, Mark? Say, okay, this is the money that we have generated, and this money is for subsidy. In the situation whereby we are borrowing money for subsidy, and we say, okay, we are no longer paying and if you look at it, who is even talking about subsidy when we are still selling petrol for 600 naira in Nigeria, and we are still talking about subsidy removal? I think we're supposed to have gone beyond this subsidy of 18. We already pay subsidy, and there's no subsidy removal again in Nigeria. So why are we still talking about subsidy? The Niger was saying that, okay, the subsidy, if you remove the money you remove the subsidy, supposed to put it somewhere. I don't know, because if we are borrowing money to pay subsidy, it's like you don't have money and then you want to be using it to subsidize something. So if you stop doing that thing, then are you making a saving? There's no money saved when you stop it.
Let me just share something with you, Simba. You know what the government did with it? They took the money because price has increased in the country. They gave it to the governors, and no accountability for it.
Which money are you talking about?
Let me explain it to you. The moment they remove the subsidies, now they have that extra cash. They used it and increased
the extra cash. Don't mistake. The extra cash that they have that time is because of the floating of the naira.
No. That was before that.
The extra cash. The question I want to ask you is that, is there any money that is okay? This is the money set aside for subsidy.
Yes. If you have ability to borrow money, it's in a way a credit card. It's like you have a credit card to spend. And when you are not buying certain things with that credit card anymore, now you have that credit card to do.
But the analogy that you are giving doesn't apply now. That analogy that you are giving it doesn't apply.
It applies because they got the money. I just told you they got the money.
Got the money from where? The question from where?
Okay, you want to ask me the question. Let me put the question back to you. Where do you think they got the money immediately after they put the subsidies to allocate more, almost double the funds to state government?
The question, you already answered the question on your own. You said immediately remove the subsidy, also float the naira So floating of
Not
that naira,
immediately. I didn't answer it. It's not immediately. They floated the naira at least months after. They didn't float the naira immediately.
it's not months after, not months after. It's just like a month or so after. So
No, I think it was months after.
there's no, if you look at it critically, all these things that we are just peddling around, all these things, there's no money for subsidy. It's not as
The
if there's
issue
no.
here that they are not being honest with this subsidy of a thing. They are telling us they remove subsidy. We don't know whether they have removed it properly or not. We don't know whether it's 50% removed or not. So you that is talking, do you even know the actual how they remove the subsidy and how are they carrying it out? Tomorrow we are hearing that they are even paying more money than they were paying before.
They
So who
will
are you
pay
going to
more.
believe?
Let me tell you, it's a common sense. You understand? Don't let us pretend. All of us, we are just pretending.
It's
Common
almost 2
sense.
months after
Let
they
me
took
get
over power before they floated
hold on.
naira.
You know that this petrol is valued in dollar. You understand? Okay, at the inception, how much was the dollar to naira? Maybe about, let's say, 500 naira. Now it's about 1,400. So when they increased it that time, it was 600 naira, and they were still standing at 600 naira now. And by the time the dollar to naira ratio is now 1,000 to 1,300, 1,500. We are still selling at 500. 600 naira. Common sense will let us know that something is fishy somewhere. There is no
Simba, who
removal,
caused
as far
it
as I'm
now?
concerned.
Simba,
Simba,
who
my
caused the
question to
problem?
you is
No,
that
Emmanuel, hold on.
has
I
the
want to
subsidy
slow
been
Simba down.
removed? Has
Emmanuel,
the
hold on. Let
subsidy
me
been
slow
removed?
Simba down.
The government is not even hiding anything about it. They are even giving the figures out that these are amount they are paying on subsidy. And you people don't see it.
No, Emmanuel. No, Emmanuel. Simba. Who caused the currency to depreciate so that they will have to return back to subsidy again?
It's not even let me tell you, you are living in the developed country. If by the time you are having a constant price for petrol, you know that something is wrong. It can't be, the price cannot be remain the same year in, year out, every day. It
Not
can't
three
be, it
times
can't be like that
increment.
now.
Not 3 times increment. But you didn't answer the question.
But we all
Who
know
devalued
what
the
is responsible
currency?
for that.
Who devalued the
I'm not
currency so
forget
that
that is
the
another
subsidy will
discussion.
return?
That is another discussion. We are talking about subsidy now. Is what you are asking is another discussion entirely.
Simba,
You
let me
understand?
say,
So
Simba, let me
The reason
let me
why
say
I'm
one
saying
thing,
that you
but
are saying that the subsidy has returned. The subsidy returned because of their actions. So in other words, the Nigerians just went through pain for nothing.
okay, that's what initially do you think what we are doing was even sustainable?
Simba, let me
It
So
say
was.
at
something
this
here.
time,
It was.
you still think that in Nigeria today we can still be buying petrol at 200 naira in
No,
the current world?
Emmanuel, sorry. See,
Simba,
okay, let me let you go. Go ahead,
can
Emmanuel.
I say something? See, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know whether you are in support that the subsidy is back or you support that the subsidy is not back. But my
I'm saying
problem
that
with
it's clear. My point is clear
wait,
that we are paying
wait,
subsidy
you
now.
can
That's what I'm
see,
saying.
you can see now there is no uh, sincerity in this government at all. From the beginning, nobody is against whatever policy they wanted to implement, but there is no way you remove subsidy and 2 months later, 1 month later, you remove the arbitrage, and you think that things will go well like that. So now you have done that instead of you to come openly and tell Nigeria that we are facing a lot of problem. This is what we are going to do. But you went at the back, you started paying subsidy without us knowing that you are spending more money than Goodluck and Buhari spend in paying subsidy. So, and you want us to be happy. You want Nigeria to be happy.
And
It's not,
all in 1 year.
and this is all in 1 year. Just in 1 year. Instead of you to come clean, open, and say, okay, we made a mistake. Let's correct the mistake. This is what we are doing. This is other people, third party are the one coming out to tell us. Erufai in the short man from Kaduna said it. You people did not, the APC did not say anything. Another one said it, did not say until it has gotten to 5 point something billion naira. Billion before you started saying something. Oh, we have spent 5 point something billion in subsidy. What do you want us to do now? What do you want us to do? You
The
can't
problem,
you can't even account
problem
for
with
it.
this government is that I don't even know their way out. The only way out of the problem they are in now is the refineries coming on stream. That is the only way out, because if this thing carry on, they are not going to be able to stem the tide before 2027. All these people that were crowing that Tinubu is going to win, if the economy remains like this, and maybe even gets worse a little bit, let's say the naira gets worse, which it tends to get when people start spending money and the frenzy of election starts. This situation, he will not be able to win the next election. People just assume that he's going to win hands down, because the record he has is worse than all the governments put together so far.
So far
But
now, he's the
that
worst
one,
president we have. He's the worst
excuse
president
me.
currently. Maybe tomorrow it might change, but now he's the worst president.
Yeah, the only thing that can change it for me is that this thing,
Because
those
it's based on these
refineries can
people's
change it for
experience.
him. No, it's only those refineries that can change it for him. If the Dangote now says he's going to start selling petrol sometime in July, if Port Harcourt refinery, Kaduna, all of them come online, I'm telling you, no matter, Tinubu doesn't have to campaign. He's going to win the election. Let's face it, he's going to win.
But whether he wins or not, that is none of my business. What I wanted is that whatever anybody can do to uplift our country and make our country better, that will be good for everybody. I'm not here to campaign. We are just discussing economic policy. We are not looking at who wins, who does not win. Because whoever is there now, that is the person we can judge. Whoever has not gotten there, you can never see this is what the person will say, we do, and we achieve. If you look
See,
at the just hold on. Yeah,
okay.
one thing I want you people to realize is that election in Nigeria is not usually based on whatever economy is saying or the performance of the economy. You understand? But that is not what I'm discussing. We are discussing policies now, and that is what I think we should face. It's not about election that is coming in 3.5 years or 4 years time.
Okay,
So
let me give you the good policies that the government are looking to pursue. Like the student loans one is a good one. I think it's going to be transformational eventually in the Nigerian space, as long as they don't sabotage it.
That is if they did not dabaru it, because they're
Yes, if
already
they don't find
dabaruing
a
it
way,
now.
yeah, if they don't find a way to dabaro it, if the credit scheme comes into play, people start getting credit rating in Nigeria, that too is going to be transformational. The which other policy that is looking to pursue that might actually change this for good? I think those are the two major ones. The agricultural one, I don't know whether, I'm sure I don't have too much hope on that one. But
Another one is
those
this
are the only two
Oresanya
I can
report.
remember.
If they can carry it properly, that is a good thing. But they are not.
I don't have any hope. Is it not that report that talked about the national anthem change to the one
Cost of governance, yes.
cost of governance? See, cost of governance in Nigeria is too low already. People don't understand that Nigeria as a state is very small. You wonder why they can't fix the roads. If you look at small countries like the United Kingdom, they have more than 1 point something million federal workers. Nigeria has 700 something thousand, and UK is 66 million, while Nigeria is 200 something million people. The Nigerian state has been cut to the bone because IMF keep telling us that we are spending. Our problem is that we are not earning. We need to be earning money. We are not generating wealth. You can't live on a
you are
country
just
where the national budget
to
is so small.
Nigeria. That is what we, because I wonder when Nigerians used to say Nigeria is rich. I wonder where that richness is coming from. A country with 200 million people, we're having a budget of less than 20 billion. Even Saudi Arabia here cannot even, they can spend that one on, it's not even up to one ministry budget. And so
It's what
what
they
we should be
spend on
talking about, how
toothpicks.
can we make more money in that country? How can we make use of our resources to generate more fund? In as much
That's
as
why I
we
support
continue,
Dangote now. That's why I support Dangote. Dangote is looking now to go into
in as
steel.
much as we continue
And
the way
export it to Africa.
the way we are doing now, even go and bring any messiah, that the money that we have in that country is not going to take us anywhere.
But
And,
I
and,
disagree
and one,
with you.
sorry. One thing I like about this government too, I suspect, I'm not sure, they are more friendly to businesses that want to create wealth. I think they may be more friendly to that, and compared to Buhari, this is going. That's one thing I suspect, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Simba, when you talk about that
Mhm.
we are not rich, I disagree with you. Do you know what we have that most of these African countries don't have? Is the human capital. How are we utilizing that human capital that
You cannot. Let me tell you, it's just like, how can you be counting your egg before they? I mean, your chicken before they are hatched? You are looking at your potential, but that's not translating to money. You are talking about potential. It's different from talking about what you have.
Wait now. When one man was analyzing what P2B was saying, when you're talking about their GDP and their GDP by per capita and all that. So to me, I believe that our human capital, the government would have, if they utilize that human capital properly, that will be the best. We'll be competing with the Western world, not just Africa. But they are not utilizing that aspect, that human capital properly for
us down.
For their good.
Standing Nigerian people down, and this is
you understand. If they can utilize human capital that we have,
okay, finish what you're saying.
We'll be producing a lot, like creating a good enabling environment so that this capital you have will thrive, and some that outside the country will also come and invest in your country. But you are not even paying attention to that asset you have in the human capital you have. You are only busy with the small circle of the businessmen that you have. That you think that those small circle is what are going to drive the nation. That is a big lie. That's a big lie.
This is why I say I know you support P2B. We have to hold him accountable because he's your voice. And I think that because some of the things he's doing is not, look at what you are saying now. You don't hear him necessarily saying that to Tinubu. You don't hear him saying that, because if you recruit 2 million, do you know what I would do? Somebody has to build a house. Somebody has to buy the boots. Somebody has to make the uniforms. Somebody has to build the barracks. All those things, it stimulates the economy and it makes the country secure. Nigeria is losing over 10 billion minimum. Some people estimate as much as 50 billion a year in GDP. And yet, your own candidate and my own candidate is not saying anything about that. That's such important topic. And you have to ask yourself, is he playing a game here? Just waiting for his time so that we go and vote for him. And
I agree with you. There's something that he's not saying. And like that Hajj 90 billion naira, he was...
you call that one out too. Yeah, he was quiet about that too.
He was quiet. Then this insecurity that he's not tackling the government, asking them why they're not recruiting more soldiers, and because we can't have 50-something thousand policemen, over 200 million people. How is it possible? The other day I came here, I was suggesting that we're supposed to have a police station in every 5 minutes drive in Nigeria.
Exactly. That is what I mean by denying criminals space. You have to deny them space. The idea that if you don't have security forces everywhere, you are going to have this problem. This is how they do it in the West. That's why you call for police within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they are there.
They are there, exactly. They are just at the corner of your house. Every 5 minutes drive, you equip, build that station there, give them a bus, 2 bus, mount there. By then, you increase the numbers. If there's a problem by some distance away, at least there will be a rush. Left and center. Everywhere, every angle.
If P2B was saying what you are saying now, it's not going to put pressure on the government. Because every day they kidnap people, the pressure will increase. But he's not doing it. Why?
I think we need to talk to people that are very close to him, that talk to him properly, because we are calling him out as well. That's why I love with people, because we are not blinded following him. We tell him things that are not doing right.
One man, I hope you are hearing that now. Because all these people, they only call us fascists. They will call people that support people to be fascists, that they don't call people to be out. They call people to be out.
We call him out, Seth. We drag him like generator every day, Seth.
I just hope they keep calling him out, because some of the moves that he's making, the strategic silence that he deploys, I find that very suspicious. I really.
If you remember when they were carrying tons of people to Western world for meetings with Tinubu, he was critical about it, and they came down, reduced that number. You remember that period?
Yeah, exactly.
So because he was always on their neck. So if he continue like that on this security aspect, though he's speaking in a nuance, like the way he normally speak, the attack and everything, but he's not going specifically telling them, let's recruit, this is what you're going to do. You only speak by the attack that has happened and all stuff, that you need to do something on this one. So we are telling him that, tell them, okay, we need to recruit more people. We need to do this. We need to do this, or stuff like that. So
I find that very disturbing the way he approaches things. And then one other area I thought as a politician that he was very is weird. He became weirdly a kind of sectionalized the way he was talking. Like when they were talking about the Lagos Calabar road, and he came out and said, "Oh no, why are you spending money on that? You should spend money on other things." I felt like you could have just said, spend money on fixing the roads that we have, but don't tell them not to do that project, because what people in the South are hearing is that you are saying the projects for their area is not good. Because I've never had any project that the federal government is building in the South is that any P2B has ever criticized, or like Second Niger Bridge and all the rest of it. No, they don't criticize it. And I fear that some of our Southeastern politicians, they don't understand when they do these things that they do, because most of the developments in that region, if you are going to start criticizing it like that, people are going to just start feeling like, is it then just really genuine, or is he just
I think he
being
pay
sectional?
attention to criticism. So I think he understand they criticize him by that. I think he withdraw from such that statement.
Yeah,
So I think
I hope so,
yeah, different.
because I personally, when I saw the development, all I see is Nigeria at least doing something in that one. Like when Dangote said he wants to go into steel, that
But
is a great
to
thing.
Niger, do you believe that they are going to complete that project? That Jinjati project is for them to create another value to loot money.
See,
We-
let's put it this way. I don't know whether they are going to complete it, but I know they completed Dangote refinery, and I know that the same
Dangote is a private sector. It's not a government drive
and and
stuff.
and this road too is partly private. I think mostly private. The government is a minority shareholder in this project. So from that point of view, I don't think that the private people want to lose money too. So they are going to build it. I think they said they're going to finish 40 something kilometers within by next year. So they are going to build it. The question is, who is going to finish it? Maybe the next government that comes in, if it was P2B now, he might decide not to complete it. That's even a big problem.
No. The issue with P2B is that he cannot abandon the project that have started. That is one thing I give it to him. He did it in Anambra. Any project that have been in existence, he does not
So
abandon it.
if that
So
if that's
he will not start a new one. That's the one thing with
mm,
him. But he will make sure he complete the existing one. So if
yeah,
this project is on, he will not leave it.
yeah. I think one thing I like about P2B for sure is that on the macroeconomics and the direction the country needs to go, he seems to spell it out right. And but these strategic silences is worrying me a lot. Some of the
It's
things.
not easy though. It's just only him actually. Even the Labour Party, they are not even doing anything
Oh
at
no,
all.
Yeah, that's true. Labor Party, Jesus Christ, those ones are they not the ones in there? They are all in cahoot now. I don't know. You see, our politics in Nigeria is being corrupted so badly that very few people stand up for the right thing anymore. This is why insecurity carries on. Very few people really stand up for the right thing, because if P2B cannot even speak up, it shows you that people around him are not supporting him. They're not pushing him to do what the
Mm,
right thing.
exactly.
It's really sad that and I really would personally, one of the things I would like to experience in my life is I'll go to Nigeria, observe the political space, just observe it, how it happens
See,
the way it
let, let,
happens.
let me even tell you, if I'm a president today, I'm going to do two things, right? Number one, you might say that I might be naive what I'm saying. See, half of our budget, I'll divide it into two. Half of it will go into agriculture. And I'm not going to use the government for it. I'm going to privatize in fact, every state is going to have like an industry, and that industry is going to privatize and it's going to anchor on agriculture. And I'm going to give them targets. Every year, I want these tons of grain. I want these tons of grain, and I'm going to government is going to support because I'm going to lie with private sectors to make sure that state, that industry, because if we put an industry in each state, agricultural industry in each state, from there we're going to recruit more people, we're going to
Mm,
engage more people, we're going to push people to be busy. You
mhm.
understand? And also,
Yeah.
we're also going to have a central agriculture in the FCT that also drives the same purpose. So that is agricultural aspect of it alone. And do you know what that sector will yield? It will yield more money than the oil in 1 year.
Are you certain? That's we're talking about 30 billion. It's possible, I guess, if you.
Yes. It
But
will
you have
yield
to
more money because
export it.
now every state has a target, and that target is will be channeled and be exported, because we create an avenue to be exporting some of these things, this raw material we are producing outside the country. We'll create an avenue for that. You will see when we do it this way, these are
Yeah,
our bushes that
what if headers and insecurity, bandits and all around drive
exactly.
the farms?
So
What are you gonna do?
this one will also be taken, because that's the first that will be taken. That I'm saying, and that's the first that will be taken care of. We'll make sure that when we are busy with all these things, because we are not busy, that's why the insecurity is increasing. When everybody is busy, who will be looking to go and steal? Not to get it. When everybody is
Yeah,
busy,
but currently, people will be busy farming for a return of about 2 million, maybe 3
because they are
million.
minority,
But the
because they are
farmers, but
few.
the bandits are looking for bigger profits. Bandits, they are interested
To
larger.
Niger, because they are few. If I have millions of people in Castina, push them to farming, make sure I engage them and pay them well, do you think that any bandit will come and chase them away?
Yeah, of
It's not
course.
possible,
See, all you
because
have to do is
they are
fire
they
a
are, they
gun and people will run.
are
You don't know that. I mean, you see how it happens. You just raise your gun in the air. You don't even have to fire at anybody yet. Raise it in the air, fire it. Do you know they say some of all these bandits they have guns that can fire from almost 1 kilometer away and kill. So we are talking about really armed people, IEDs and all the rest. You can't just go and start farming and you expect them to go away. You have to now. Those people you want to give those agricultural jobs to, you get them into the security forces to protect their country. Now, once you push all of them away, investment, all the money that all those agricultural farms, people are going to come and farm. Nigerians are going to return from overseas to come and invest, build houses, open industries themselves. And then, as a governor, as a president, I mean, you can also stimulate investment by encouraging Nigerians to acquire companies overseas and transfer the intellectual property rights to Nigeria to start manufacturing. So for Nigeria to become rich, we can manufacture what we need so that we don't buy too much,
I
but we
think
have
you
to
have a
export.
point. We see, we the younger ones, we actually very, very bright, have all this idea. The issue we're having in Nigeria is that we have a state capture. I don't know whether you understand what I mean. The elite captured it, and just for their little small circle benefits. That's all.
See, that is how every nation is. The term state capture by the elite is it's strictly the way nations are from ancient time immemorial. The kings, the Obi'S, all of them, they control the state. That is just a term people use to just denote something weird stuff. I guess maybe if they mean state capturing in terms of these people that are at the top, they have been captured by foreign entities, then you can use that kind of term. That's when it is special, because people that are ruling a country are supposed to be independent minded and govern for their people. But if they are not governing for the people, but they are governing by some foreign entities, then if you use state capture, it's unique. But if you use state capture as a term that the elites are controlling a society, guess what? That is how it is everywhere. Elites control all systems. And this is why if you want to dislodge the elites, like from any country, look at what happens to that country. It's always a massive revolution, it's always a massive civil war or some serious upheaval. You can't dislodge the elite in most nations. So, and it's a big problem. You have to either change them or you fight them. That is how elites work, and especially if they have been captured by foreign entities. Because I believe that our Nigerian government, the way they act, the way they govern, the way their policies flow, they seems to be doing it in line with what foreign partners will approve. They don't want to offend them. And when they do that, it's not necessarily benefit us. Like all these policies that the government has currently put in place, IMF, World Bank are praising them, but Nigeria is going through hell.
So
Inflation rate
so
is 30%.
so in like that IMF in UK now, I don't think they are floating their naira, but they have been pushing Nigeria to do that.
That is, they are very, very cunning now. See, the thing is that they don't care about our growth. You see, yesterday I was just listening
They
to a
just want
Chinese.
Nigeria to
Mm,
crash.
let,
I
let
don't
me
even
say,
know
let me let
what
me say
was.
something to you that Nigerians need to listen. Anybody that listen to it, they need to hear this. I was listening to a Chinese official being interviewed on Al Jazeera, and they were asking him about, why is China not stepping up to do things and help with peace deals like in the Middle East and all, in Ukraine and all those things. And he was like, then they went and started talking about all the things China is doing also in Africa in terms of doing business in Africa. Then he says that the West is often the one that is often causing problems, and he used a term very interesting. He said, now the West has gone to Africa and is causing problems now. He said that in passing, but I took that very seriously because they can see clearly what is happening to the continent right now. And they are seeing that the West is going in there and causing a lot of havoc. And that is what is happening in Nigeria. It's happening in Congo. Congo now, the tension there is so high. And if we as a people don't start pushing back against these things and telling our leaders, you know what, you have to go on for us. This idea that you go back and put a British national anthem as that of Nigeria, that is stupid. You should be asking Nigerians to write their own national anthem. After all, we export music. You should be asking Nigerians to have a native languages as their official language. You should be looking to change the name Nigeria. What is wrong with these leaders? What is wrong with our elite? Why can't they rename their country? Even Ghana managed to rename his country. They can't even rename Nigeria. You can even
Wait. Let me answer Colata. Colata said UK has floated their currency in 1972.
yeah.
What was the state
UK
of
has
the
a
economy? Yeah,
currency.
what was the state of the economy? What supported that floating? What is supporting Nigeria floating today? What's supporting that naira floating today? Because there
UK
was
is
a
not
massive
exporting.
production,
UK is
there
a
was a
massive
massive
exporting
production,
economy now.
there was a massive exportation, there was a production going on, and they were able to float, and it was sustainable then. So what is sustaining this floating that's naira, this naira that are floating now? What can we boast that is sustaining it, that is supporting it?
It's not doing it's just causing trouble for us. That's the thing.
It's causing trouble.
If you have the kind of economy that Nigeria has, you are not meant to rush into floating. As a matter of fact, even what Kolata admits that they are doing managed float. Managed float is in a way you can depend on how you apply your management. It could still seem like a fixed currency or a pegged currency because you can decide that okay, I want to manage it so that the currency is at 1,000 naira per dollar. Then you make sure that when it goes past that, you intervene with resources to stop it from happening. But what this government have done is just left it go up and down, drive inflation up, and they are struggling. They are pulling on every nonsense to try to solve a problem that they created. They didn't have to do what they did. Nigeria was not facing total collapse, especially after removing the subsidies. Nigeria had a little bit of breathing space. That breathing space, they should have used it. Focus on getting Dangote refinery functional. Focus on getting the Port Harcourt refinery functional and all the others. By that time, the money we spend wasting it on foreign exchange will also go into supplying those people that demand the foreign exchange that Nigeria is currently demanding. It wouldn't have taken a year for them to do that if they had just focused on that instead of causing all this problem from Nigerian economy. Do you know that they borrowed billions just to fight this the currency fluctuation? Billions
Exactly.
of dollars. What a waste. What
Exactly.
a waste. So some of the things they've done, and this is my problem with someone like Kulata. He because it's the government that is doing it, and because it sounds cool, floating currency, managed float is a good thing. It's not necessarily a good thing for you. You have to ask yourself, when you know what, when I even input this information into a ChatGPT, the history of Nigeria, and saying that the Nigerian economy is unstable with a large inflation and all that, even ChatGPT said, you know what, if this is what is happening and you need stability, you need to peg the currency or put some kind of fixed rate. That at most, if you are doing this in managed float, you have to do it in such a way that you keep everything stable. But is everything stable right now in Nigerian currency? It's not stable. It goes up and down constantly. 1 minute is 1,005 this in naira per dollar. Then the next thing is 1,300.
Then
What is that?
see the ripple effect of what that floating is happening to the economy. See the ripple effect, right? Because a lot of small businesses, small medium businesses, they are closing down because they can't even predict what is going to happen to the next price of goods. You buy something today 1,000, tomorrow you're buying it 2,000, next tomorrow you're buying it 500. Who on his right sense will invest in that kind of space?
That is
When
what people like
when the
Kulata
currency is not,
stability is
the
very
other day
important.
I sent one man that 308,000 jobs were lost in space of how many months? Just because of there was no stability in the currency, in the economy. You cannot invest in this kind of situation. You can't tell me to come and invest my millions of dollars or millions of naira in this kind of situation. I don't even know what is the next. The Emefiele, the Cardoso, them, they are busy chasing people carrying, doing their this thing online, Binance. Is it the problem that we're facing?
You would
Is it the
think
problem we're facing?
you would really think that this type of things will be obvious to these elites. But I think our leaders, they know what they are doing. And people keep saying they don't know. These people are highly educated. They know. I think people like Cardoso has attended economic class and all the rest. The fact that he did what he did, he knew he was wrong. He knew he didn't have to do it. But they are doing it to make themselves feel good. Cardoso went training in the US. They took him to the US to go and be trained in this Federal Reserve. These people are not working for us. Every CBN bank, this head, they take them overseas to go and train them. When they are training them, what do you think is happening? They're not telling them, they're not going to give them everything that they need so that they can be good for their people. They will tell them, hey, if you go there, this is what you need to do. This is your job. Otherwise, I will send you home, and your leader is going to send some other person. You are not going to be the CBN head. Do you want to or not?
I will see them. They will come here and say, Nigeria does not have money. Does not have. Are you sure? Who tells them we don't have money? It's just they don't use the money well. They don't use the money well. See, like I told you, if I